What's happening, people? And welcome back to Park Lane Podcast, episode number 35. My name is Luke, and as always, I'm joined by my co-host and very special Spurs guest, Harry Scarf. How you doing, Harry?
Very good, thank you. It's great to be here, Luke, on this bank holiday weekend as well. Actually, day off, perfect. With you talking about Tottenham, never quiet. Always something to talk about with Tottenham, so I'm sure there will be. I'm looking forward to it. So yeah, can't wait.
Exactly, mate. It may be the coronation, but there is only one king, and that's King Kane. So let's get on straight.
He's our king.
Thanks to those that are watching. And if you are new to the channel, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Make sure you like the video as well. And if you are listening on any podcast platform, make sure you hit the follow button. We are getting more followers every single week and more plays on Spotify and everywhere else. So, really appreciate that and make sure you keep continuing your support. So, Harry, every week we come on this show and we talk about something wild that's happened at Spurs. A few weeks ago, 6-1 defeat to Newcastle. In the midweek game, 2-2, came from 2 goals down. And then last weekend, I was quietly confident. I was quietly thinking, do you know what? The Liverpool team can be got at and, we can really do some damage here. And what happened was the classic Spurs, the Spursiness of Spurs started from the very, very beginning. Once again, Harry, we were 3 goals down within 15 minutes. Talk to me your feelings at that point.
I just thought we're going to be another Newcastle. And I just thought, here we go again. And I seriously sat there. I said to my brother, this could be 7 or 8. We've just conceded 6 to Newcastle. We're at Anfield against Liverpool. We're up against the likes of Salah, Jota, Johnny. We're up against the loads of good attacking players. And when they're 3-0 up inside 15 minutes, and I think Liverpool are as good as, if not better than Newcastle, this can be worse. But fair play to the players for not giving up, making sure it wasn't another Newcastle, and pulling it back to 3-3. I mean, I'm sure we'll get into it, but it's only Spurs get to 3-3 in the 93rd minute and lose that game. That is just so Tottenham. And it was too good to be true. Richarlison scoring, having played for Everton against Liverpool, making it his first league goal in a Spurs shirt, ever and of the season. Anfield as well, added time. You couldn't have been more perfect. But yeah, it's just too good to be true. But yeah, it's just you shouldn't have to go 3-0 down to start playing, and that's the reality. We've done well to get it back. Personally, think we're unlucky not to come away with anything. As bad as we were in the first 15-20 minutes, we had huge chances through Son and Romero on another day. Luck from your side, it goes in. But Luke, you shouldn't have to go 3-0 behind before you turn up. We at the moment, there's no point watching the first 15 minutes. It should be okay today against Crystal Palace because we're not playing that level of opposition who probably will take the game to you. But at the same time, having said that, look how goals they've scored, Palace under Roy Hodgson, and how exciting they look going forward. But this Palace team today is vulnerable defensively. But no, you can't go 3-0 down inside 15 minutes. You just can't. As a big club, it's impossible to win the game.
Yeah, it's ridiculous, isn't it, really? Because, at that point, I was the same as you. And do you know what? I was close to saying, do you know what? I've seen enough of this embarrassment. And
yeah, I did enough. And I'm glad I didn't turn it off. I didn't watch the second half against Newcastle because it's 5-0 down, right? And I was just like, I can't do this because nothing's going to change in the second half. And it got to the point where, and I've always watched a Spurs game to the end. We've, for example, Bayern Munich. We lost the game 7-2. I watched right until the very end. We've had some bad defeats. I've been there myself as a fan inside the stadium. I've stayed right till the very end. My dad will say to me, or a mate say to me, come on, let's go, avoid the traffic. I always stay until the very, very end. But the exception was Newcastle. I decided not to turn it off against Liverpool. And I think it was a right decision in the end because the players showed heart, they showed spirit. And I'd love to sit here and give them a lot of credit. But you can't go 3-0 down in a big game like this. You cannot do it. If you cannot do it against big teams, you just can't. You're not going to win. You're giving yourself an uphill battle. So today, we mustn't do the same. I expect us to start slowly again. Let's just hope, it's Crystal Palace and, they won't punish us. And Palace are pretty much safe. So I'm hoping today that they're kind of going to ease off because they've given a lot for Roy Hodgson. like in terms of tempo and the standard a lot for 90 minutes. I'm hoping that a few changes will be made and they'll ease off a little bit because they are all but safe.
Yeah, do you know what? Talking about like turning the TV off and stuff like that. Do you know what? I'm pretty much the same as you. And the only game that I have turned off was the 7-2 game, but that was like pretty late. I'm thinking like 86th, 87th minute that I turned the game off, and that's I think the only game that's happened in. And I watched the Newcastle game with a Newcastle friend of mine, and we watched the game together. And we had a laugh and a joke, and we just got on with it. And then Liverpool, I watched with the same fan because we'd watched the Newcastle game before at my house, and then we decided to sit and watch the Spurs game. And he turned around to me and he said, "How is this happening again?"
I know.
And
haven't you learned? Why can't this club learn? 7 days ago, the exact same thing. I mean, this club is rotten from top to bottom, right? And I sit here all the time and talk about how Levy can't learn about his mistakes. This club from top to bottom does not learn from its mistakes. And we do the same thing every day, every week, every month, every year. It's the same mistake. Every time, for example, when we got knocked out of the FA Cup, it was the same thing with Sheffield United this year than it was Middlesbrough. And did you know it was exactly 365 days apart? Exactly the same time kickoff. The same round away from home, the same score. We don't learn from our mistakes. And this club is painful because you learn, right? And you prevent that. It's a mentality thing, I think, but tactically as well, you can change that. It's set up defensively so you don't concede in the first 15 minutes and go for it towards the end. There's so many different ways you can treat not going behind early on. Defend, you go for it. There's so many things you can do. We do the same thing as we do. We walk out onto the pitch, like we're Manchester City and we think we're going to absolutely turn over them. And the players look like they've just got out of bed on a Monday morning at 5 o'clock. They don't know what they're doing. They don't know what's hit them. It's exactly the same thing. The only difference was this time is they actually looked at themselves and thought, we're the problem here. We need to do something about it against Liverpool. But still, I can sit here and praise them for coming back, but it was a joke that first 15 minutes. And we really are a laughing stock. And we can finish ninth this season, and that's we don't deserve any more than that because these players don't learn from the mistakes. These managers don't learn from the mistakes, and Levy doesn't learn from mistakes. Honestly, Luke, the club rotten from top to bottom. It was covered up for a long time by being in third position. But right now, we're talking we could be ninth by next weekend, for example. So honestly, I don't know where to start. You don't laugh, you cry.
I agree with the mentality thing, and it's one thing that I've been calling out for. And forgive me if I'm getting this wrong, because I'm going to be honest with you. I don't know all of the personnel inside of Spurs. I don't know everybody's job title and everything else, but Spurs need a club psychologist. And by a club psychologist, what I mean is a leading sports psychologist, somebody like that who has worked with professional and top level athletes throughout the world. And they need to spend good money on this. And they need to do this. And they have needed to do it for a long time. And the reason for that is, as you say, it's mentality. It's being able to, clear your mind and say what happened last week will never happen again. And when I say never, I mean never happen again. Because to allow yourselves to be 5-0 down in 20 minutes is not acceptable. To allow yourselves to be 3-0 down inside 15 minutes is not acceptable. And they need to be able to learn, and they need to be able to clear their minds and be able to channel that energy into something else. And that, for me, is something that I really think we need. And so, will they ever do it? Probably not. Big up to Huddersfield Town fan
Big
TV.
Up,
and Johnny will come to your comments soon. That's something that I think is more essential than a lot of other things at Spurs. And it has been like that for a long time. Whether that runs from fans on social media, teams that we play against, players making comments in news conferences, whatever that comes from, I thought at a point when we brought in new players that wouldn't understand that concept, we would be able to get rid of that. But it never seems to change. And I'm going to move on to something in a minute, Harry. But I want to bring up this comment from Johnny here. And he said, most of you don't want conference, and I don't know why. Even without Europe, in my opinion, you guys have no chance at top 4 next season. And conference, even West Ham might win it this year.
I'm glad this was brought up.
Now, I'm going to go up first, right? And then let you go on to this.
Yeah.
I have no problem with winning or trying to win European silverware. Okay? That's something that Arsenal have never managed. And, you know, I know that Johnny is an Arsenal fan, so I just wanted to, put that out there. There is no point in playing Champions League football and having no chance of winning it. But there is also, in a way, it's pointless to play a conference league in which we will never play our first 11, in which we really won't give it the best shot because we would rather focus as a football club in climbing higher in the league. My question to Johnny, really, if you want to write another comment, is to say, if Arsenal won, because he's an Arsenal fan, if Arsenal won the Conference League but finished 9th in the Premier League that same season, would you see that as progression? Would you see that as an achievement? Because to me, it doesn't. The only other point in this is that it's very hard to attract the top quality players that you need as a football club to be able to do that. And I believe if Spurs do this well, which they obviously won't, but if they do this well and they appoint the right sporting director, along with Julian Nagelsmann, Spurs in the next 3 to 4 years could be a very, very powerful team in this league and across Europe. Yeah. But they won't do it right. And we'll be back here in a year, 2 years' time and be talking about it. But Harry, talk to me about this comment then.
Yeah, there's loads of things, but what you said about the psychologist, I think I didn't even think of that, so it's a perfect idea. And like you say, the club can be a really powerful place to think, and Nagelsmann, but Scott Munn, and I think it'd be the same as sporting director. We're appointing people who don't know what football is. They represent this multi-brand and advertisement business. Great. I'm unlike some fans that I don't have a problem with all the things like the F1 track and the sponsorship deals. In fact, I think they're good. But what needs to come first at this club is the football side of things. But with Johnny's comment, the Conference League, I want what's best for my club. If that's 7th place, then so be it. I'm not one of these fans that says, I'd rather finish 8th and 7th because he's going to force Levy to rebuild. I really don't think it is going to force Levy to do anything. I really don't. I want what's best for my club. If that's 6th, if that's 7th, whatever it is, I want what's best for my club. And that's the end of the day. That is the bit I do share with Daniel Levy, probably the only, but I want what's best for the club. It'd be a terrible season, but I want us to finish like above Villa. I want us to finish above Brighton still, above Brentford. Yeah, that still matters. The season's not over. Big up when he also missed you. West Ham Conference League. They win it. And the sad thing is Wrexham will probably win the Premier League before us. It's been said. I don't think it's ridiculous at all. If you think about it, it's more than realistic. West Ham as well, Conference League, they're winning a trophy before us. It's quite sad, but everything, like you say, in the dressing room, there's like a rotter mentality. It's been like this for so long, and the club has just gone backwards and backwards and backwards. And we'd be the same conversation 2-3 years' time where we're going, we haven't moved forward since 2019. This is a waste of that because Nagelsmann, although I think there's a huge possibility it will happen, he won't be given any controls over the transfers. It walk out before 18 months. If you put on the bet, the amount of times a manager would leave Tottenham before 18 months, you'd be a millionaire. And there's a reason saying that. Mourinho and Conte, if they can't win at Tottenham, then who is going to win at Tottenham? So you've got to try something different. Levy's got to be sitting there now going, it's not working. What we're doing is not working. And I know they say don't go back, but Pochettino did work. 5 seasons in a row, top 4. Nobody's done that since. Closest to winning the Champions League, closest to winning the Premier League. Nobody has done that since. Surely you go back to something that worked. But right now, this club is rotten. Levy can't accept his mistakes. The sporting director, Scott Munn, although I like the idea, I'm sure he knows nothing about football, and it'd be on loads of business trips with Levy. That's what it's for. And it just feels this football club is slipping down, and there's nobody that really cares. dressing room's broken. There's no leader. The only thing that's keeping us going at the moment is they're fighting for Ryan Mason. With Johnny's comment about the Conference League being it, I'd love to. Fine to be in it. Not my cup of tea, but we're in it. Fine, it's a trophy. We try and win. But it's annoying because we know, Luke, we sit here as Spurs fans and go, we play our second or third team Europa and Conference League, and we get knocked out and humiliated. Dino Zagreb, NS Mora. There's so many teams who got humiliated. Small teams that nobody have heard of. Some of them are even part-time. You know, you had NS Mora. What was that? Another one we played away from home. It was part-time. One of them was a builder, for example. So it's ridiculous. Champions League, at least we treat seriously. But there's so many problems at the club right now. But I still want what's best for the club.
Yes. Yeah, I think that you're being a little bit harsh on the appointment of Scott Munn, I think, in general. I think that, unfortunately, that mentality comes from hanging around with too many Levy Outers.
I wonder if he knows what the word football means, though. I don't know if he does. Seriously,
but of course he does.
If he knows what, I think because you look at his job titles over in China. It's the business. It's the multi-sports brand. Fine, but you read the club's information. Like you go to the club website about the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. It says the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium hosts blah 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 concerts, this that the other, new F1 track, and right down at the bottom it says as well as Tottenham Hotspur matches. And for me, that just sums up the way they look at it and how low down the priorities the football club is. It should be the Tottenham Hotspur, little things like that. The Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, hosts every home Tottenham Hotspur match, as well as it's just little things like that. And this football club is right down the bottom of the priorities. Scott Munn, yeah, it's a good idea, but Paratici shouldn't have been appointed in the first place. We shouldn't be in this situation where we're looking for a sporting director. We're looking for a chief football officer. And do you really think Scott Munn's going to get any power? Or do you think some little baldy's going to poke his nose in at the end and have the final say? It's been like that for a long time. I can't see it changing overnight. Levy's not going to change.
Look, the difference between Daniel Levy and Scott Munn, right? And there isn't a huge difference, and I'll be honest with you, right? But the difference is that Scott Munn does understand football, right? Okay,
well,
he was the head of City Football Group in China. Okay, he was involved in Melbourne City as well, another part of the City Group football. People can diss somebody for being involved in places in Asia and so on. But one example of this, and this is probably not a very good example, right? But just look at Ange Postecoglou, right, at Celtic. He was manager in Japan.
I don't like him.
And then he was the Australian team manager and so on.
He's overrated.
He's come to Celtic and he's brought across some amazingly talented Japanese footballers over to that league. And we can talk about that league and so on. I'm not using this as a very good example, right? But what I'm suggesting is that just because somebody has worked somewhere that we aren't that familiar with doesn't mean that they have no idea on football, right? The big difference between those two is that Daniel Levy and Scott Munn will have some idea of football. I don't believe... So how it's going to work, right, was we'll have Daniel Levy, Scott Munn, sporting director, and then manager. The manager and the sporting director will talk to each other. Sporting director will try to come up with some plan of action in terms of who we're going to sign. And then from there, that will get authorised from Scott Munn.
But Luke,
that's how it should work, right?
Do you think anything's going to change? This chief football officer, do you think anything positive is going to come out? Seriously, you say this, but what do you think is going to change? Because I can't see anything changing. What will we see that's different? Because Paratici comes in, we all say, the recruitment's going to be different, better. He spent the money, but the recruitment's been terrible, absolutely shocking under him.
Yeah, but then you could talk about Kulusevski and Bentancur.
We struck gold with them. Perfect. Lucky, yes. Because nobody knew who they were at the time.
You can't say the recruitment's been terrible.
Well, you can when you're wasting lots of money, and you look at situations like that. You've got lots of clubs.
I think the signs of
who's worked out last summer then, Luke? Out of all the players we signed, the 6 or 7 we signed, name me one that's worked out.
You can't judge a player.
You can't judge
players on one season. You can't judge players on one season. Okay.
No, of course you can't. They've had a long while.
No, you can't. So you can't judge the likes of Yves Bissouma, who's not played in the correct role under Antonio Conte's system. Antonio Conte doesn't like anybody who he has to train, who he has to change, who he has to do something
But
about.
what I don't get is, listen, look, we've got these players like Porro and Udoki who would clearly only fit Conte's system. What about if we have a manager that comes in that plays a back four? Whose fault is that then?
Well, because that's called backing the manager on people that he wants.
Yeah, but why don't we wait for these? For example, with Maddison, right?
Because the fans won't
listen, we've got to wait till a new manager comes in because they may not play with that player. They may not like that system. They may not even like James Maddison personally. So, the decisions that are made at Tottenham just aren't good enough. And I don't think Scott.
But no one's been signed for next season. So how can you talk about?
It hasn't even opened yet.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. So how can you talk about the likes of signing James Maddison before you even know?
Because we know that a manager won't be appointed until like July, and we always seem to sign players before that. And then these like Joe Rodham, Mourinho didn't want him, for example. Bale, us fans wanted, he didn't want him. So the recruitment, you can't sit here and go, the recruitment has been good at this club. Surely,
no, I'm not suggesting that. What you're saying is that
we agree that recruitment isn't good enough.
No, what you said.
I don't think it's improved.
What you said that Paratici's recruitment has been terrible, and I'm saying it hasn't. So.
Well, I thought, but see, I was one of the fans who went, the recruitment's great, but it hasn't worked out. We can't sit here and go, Richarlison, what a signing, or Spence, what a signing. He hasn't even played a game. You can't. Langley, I think it's been a disaster.
I'm going to say this again. You said that the recruitment was terrible, and I'm saying that it hasn't, because we have had two good players come out of that recruitment. And so you can't say a recruitment has been terrible.
Has Kulusevski been good this season?
Huh?
Has Bentancur been good this season because he's been injured? Kulusevski, has he been good this season? No. Definitely not.
But you can't blame an injury just like you can't
Kulusevski wasn't injured. Kulusevski hasn't been injured for 12 months.
He has been injured this season, though.
Not for 12 months.
But he was injured for a good period of time.
Where was he at Anfield? I didn't even know he played.
Fair enough, Harry. Fair enough.
You tied yourself in knots here.
I don't think so at all.
I think so.
You can keep shouting over the top of me, and that's absolutely fine. But I'm saying that that hasn't been terrible, and I still think Jed Spence will be a good footballer for Tottenham Hotspur.
Yeah, but you can say these things, you can make these bold statements, but if you've got no evidence to back it up, you're not going to get anywhere.
But I will have some evidence. You can't suggest that because Antonio Conte.
Should we come back to this next season? Let's come back to this next season.
No, I'm going to finish my point when I can. Is that I think that the likes of Jed Spence, it's not his fault that Antonio Conte doesn't want to work with the young player, doesn't want to try and help that. Antonio Conte is the root of a lot of our problems this season. And the sooner that people start to realise this, and I've been saying this for months and months and months and months. Antonio Conte and Stellini and his team have put Spurs back a long way. I'm not saying they're the only problem. I'm suggesting that Daniel Levy, the recruitment team, have also been bad. I think that they wanted to sign Richarlison because they wanted a person who was going to... He was never going to score 10 goals a season. He was never going to score 15 goals a season. He was brought in...
It's funny how they signed... But they signed him when Kane was meant to leave. So if Kane leaves, I'm sure he'd be the backup option.
That wasn't why he was signed.
I think he was.
To replace Harry Kane.
He can, and he also could play multiple positions. We needed a right wing at that time, so he does cover a lot of positions. But Conte is definitely a problem along with Stellini this season. It's been quite a big problem as well, definitely. But Jed Spence, it's not his fault. But again, is it the manager, for not working with younger players, or is it who signed him? Because if the manager doesn't want him, so I don't know. There's a lot of questions you can put on that.
Yeah, but that's based on so we're going off a long time on this, so we'll kind of like get to a point on it. But you can't suggest that because Antonio Conte didn't want Jed Spence, you wouldn't sign him. And I'll tell you why. Because they didn't see Antonio Conte as a long-term manager. Because Antonio Conte himself wouldn't sign for any longer than 18 months.
Yeah, I know that, but why are you signing players like Porro and Udoki if Conte's not going to stay? Who are they for, Luke? Harry, who are they for? Because they only work in a Conte system.
Harry, you're not listening.
Not for Pochettino. They're not for Nagelsmann. Who are they for?
You're not listening, though, are you? Because the fans want the manager backed, right? How many times have you heard that this season? So if the club doesn't sign players that the manager wants, the fans will call out that the manager hasn't been backed. But if they sign a player, which you've just said they shouldn't have signed because they only fit Antonio Conte's system, and if they didn't see Antonio Conte as a long-term plan, why would they sign them? Then that answers the question itself.
Does it, though?
Yes, because if they didn't sign these players, the fans would say the manager hasn't been backed.
So who signed them then? If Levy and Paratici didn't sign them, then who did? That's a bit worrying because I didn't sign them. Nobody sorted out the paperwork. Yeah, yes, our fans, but you don't always listen to fans. You've got to take that pressure that comes with the job and making the decision, and you've got to accept the mistake. They don't accept that they made a mistake. The pressure comes with the job. If you don't like it, go away. Don't take the job if you can't cope with the pressure of getting things wrong. Yes, lots of fans wanted Porro, and it might work out. That's partly on the fans as well. Absolutely.
The fans went ballistic.
Yeah.
For the fact that it took nearly 1 month to sign a player, and now you're saying why should we have signed him?
No. I'm partly agreeing that the fact that the fans, if you talk about players need a whole season, you're saying Porro needs another season and a half before you judge him. So fair enough. But that if it doesn't work out,
we're talking about Jed Spence before that. By the way.
I know, but with Porro, if it doesn't work out, then that's partly on the fans. Jed Spence as well. Fans, I don't think they went crazy for him. I think it's a club signing.
I think that's a very clever. I think Jed
I
Spence
wanted him, Luke. Yeah, but Luke, I wanted him. But I'm not the one in the job who handles the pressure. It's his job.
But you can't say, oh, Jed Spence was a poor signing. How much roughly? I don't want you to say the exact. How much roughly did Jed Spence cost Spurs?
Oh, ages ago. I don't know how much it cost.
Like 20 million, something like that.
I thought it might have been like 15. It wasn't. It's a clever signing. It really is a clever signing. But sadly, where he's on loan at the moment, it's not working out at the moment. It might do, and I hope it does, because he absolutely. And I can understand why he was signed, because he tore it up. For where was it? Middlesbrough Forest. He done a fantastic job. He tore down the ring, a key part of why they were promoted. I can understand it, but I'm just saying it's just frustrating that these players haven't worked out. It's like with Lo Celso and Ndombele.
But again, you can't suggest that Jed Spence won't work out, because A, you've got to look at how old he is.
Okay, the fact is, definitely. The fact is, it's not working
that under a new manager. I think he will start a right back.
Let's hope so. We shall see. Again, who's that manager going to be? That's the question.
And that's where they have to get it right, isn't it?
Absolutely.
But then that's where we get into a difficult situation, because if we do get Julian Nagelsmann, which I would say 80 to 90% of the fan base would be very happy with,
I think it will happen,
and he doesn't work out, whose fault is it?
Well, you've got to look at who appointed him.
But
we didn't appoint him. We like the idea, but we didn't appoint him. We're not chairman. We're not the highest paid chairman. We're not the highest paid in the Premier League. We're not one of the highest paid in Europe. We don't, we're not demanding the highest season ticket prices in the season, across Europe. So when you demand those things, you've got to take the pressure that comes with it. Yes, our fans may suggest it, but at the end of the day, it's we're not chairman. Levy's the one who's doing it. We suggest it. Fans take, of course, that responsibility with it, but we didn't sign him at the end of the day.
So if Julian Nagelsmann doesn't work out at Spurs, are you suggesting that it's 100% Daniel Levy's fault? I'm just no. We don't know the circumstances.
Not 100%. 80. I've got to go. My dogs are barking. I'll be back in a second. The dogs are barking.
We want to know all your thoughts in the comment section. So if you're watching live, make sure you get them in. If you're watching in the future on playback, then or listening online, make sure you get your comments in. I'm going to go through some of these comments here. We've got one here from Johnny saying Newcastle looks so brilliant because Eddie Howe reformed their midfield. That's all there is to it. Football is not complicated. We just like to think it is. And I think you're right, Johnny. I think that we can get very taken aback by the likes of Pep Guardiola, who likes to play with roles that I don't even know what they do. And he likes to make sure that his wing backs or fullbacks come into midfielder on attacking transitions, and then the midfielders can slot back and things like that in defensive transitions and things like that. So it is very interesting. And I think you're right, Johnny. I think we can overcomplicate football. So what's Winnie saying? Issue is the fans wanted Conte and it didn't work. The fans want Nagelsmann. If he doesn't work, then it can't be Levy's fault at all. That's very interesting. But a little surprise for everybody. Dave is here. Dave, how you doing, buddy?
What's happening? We all right?
Yeah.
Good. Thanks, mate.
Yeah, it's wet at work. I'm on a break, so I thought I'd jump on.
you know what? An even better treat for everybody. Winnie's here as well.
Hey, we've got our gang here. What's going on?
Oh, house.
Dear.
What a
I
treat
know.
for everyone's eyes. So, Dave, we'll come to you as you're first. Give me your thoughts after 15 minutes on Liverpool.
Why do I bother? I hate my life. Why do all my family have to support Arsenal and Chelsea? Yeah, mate, same old, really, isn't it? Let's be honest. I mean, what can you really say about it? It was, mate, it's so Tottenham, isn't it? Let's be honest. It's that whole game is just so Tottenham. And if you ever want to know what it's like supporting Tottenham, watch that game.
Yeah, it's difficult, isn't it? Winnie, what were your thoughts after 15 minutes?
Look, I'll be completely honest, yeah. So I echo what Dave says. You know, it is Tottenham, but that's always been Tottenham. For me, and this is just my opinion, there's something about us has changed. The Tottenham of early on in the season, would we have scored 3 goals at Anfield? No, not a chance. They seem to be. My issue is now, and what I see is they seem relaxed. They seem like they have a bit more identity. They seem to have a will to attack, which is quite clear because we are scoring goals. Whereas, you know, there was a patch not long ago where we went however many games without even scoring or even having a shot on target. So they seem to be free, which is what Tottenham have always been. They've always been attacking, free flowing, and that's what we've been. You know, that's what our philosophy has always been. But the issue is, we're just so frail at the back. That's our issue, and that's been our issue for many years because we've got the same defenses we've had for many years. So if, and this is a big if we can make the right appointment, if we can address our defensive issues, why can't we go back to being, you know, the force that we have been? I know we haven't been going for titles, etc., but you know, we've been in and about the top 4 because we've been in the Champions League. So I'm happier because I think that we look like we're going in the right direction again. But the issue is there's uncertainty because let's face it, it ain't going to be Mason going forward. So it could change again. But at the minute, after Liverpool and etc., I was happy. But we'll see what happens going forward.
Right, boys. Now I've got you all together. There's a couple of things I want to talk about. So first thing is, and no one actually knows this, is that from next week, we will be coming live on a Sunday night from now on.
Dun, dun, dun. So, breaking news.
Yeah, exactly. So to those of you who are watching that watch in the future, past, present, whenever it is, it'll be Sunday nights, 7 o'clock. So just chuck that out there. But whilst I've also got you all together, I said a few weeks ago that I think it was Winnie and Harry, but I don't remember. I can't remember. I wasn't here. Anyway, I said in the live chat that I think that Christian Romero is not the one.
Oh, here we go. Yeah.
And I firmly believe that against Liverpool, it showed that. And, you know, that's just me. That's just my opinion. But I want to know everybody else's thoughts. He was at fault for, in some way, all 3 of Liverpool's first 3 goals in the game the other day. And I don't think he was any better against Newcastle or United. So, Harry, we'll come to you first. What are your thoughts on Christian Romero?
I'm gonna have to disagree with you, Luke, because what you're doing here is we play with 5 defenders, and you're picking out one, right? And you're picking out one who's our best defender. You're picking out the one who drives forward, the one that shows heart, the passion, the leader of the defense. We don't have a leader in the team. He commands that defense. Yes, he's a liability. Yes, he makes stupid tackles. What he done at Liverpool. But you must be sitting there thinking, right, we've gone 2-0 down inside 10 minutes. I'm better than this. So I can't cope anymore. And he's lost his head, given away a penalty. Against Newcastle as well, he wasn't great. And you can't argue he is a liability. That's the fact. He's definitely a liability. But at the end of the day, he's up there with one of the best for me in the league. And if you want to get rid of him, Luke, and then you're happy to be stuck with Dyer and Davis as centre-backs, who neither of them are natural centre-backs. I mean, come on, Romero is the best defender we've got. He's better than, he's better than what he's had to put up with this season. I think he'll be good next season. Someone needs to say to him, the manager needs to say to him, you need to watch what you're doing, because you're a great player. And however, you make rash decisions sometimes, but at the same time, look at when he gets the tackle right. It's fantastic. Second half against Anfield, he's leading forward their attacks. He's playing as pretty much a number 9. He nearly scored. He hit the post. So he wants things to happen. He's leading forward. And I love that we have someone that puts their heart on the line. Dave will disagree with Højbjerg, and he hasn't done that this season, Højbjerg, for sure. But Romero has stepped up. The likes of Højbjerg haven't, but the likes of Romero have. If they step forward, and I think you're crazy to pick out him, Luke. And we've already clashed a couple of times today. You're picking out one player in this whole team. This team is rotten.
Can I say, because my battery's dropping at a rate of knots. I actually, for once ever, agree with Harry.
See, Luke.
I don't think you can blame Romero wholly. Yeah, he's rash at times, but he's the best defender at. You look at what he's surrounded by. He plays next to Eric Dyer every week. That's never good for anybody. But as far as I'm concerned, if you put a good cut of solid defenders around him, that changes, and that doesn't happen. So for me, he's the best option we've got. He's the best defender we've got. He just needs to be surrounded by better players, and then that will change. But my battery's gone from 39% to 10%, boys. So I'm gonna have to go and get back to work anyway. But,
you need a new phone, Dave.
See you next week.
Yeah, I do, but I'll catch up with you boys. I'll be on next week anyway. I'm not working already, so I'll be on next week.
I'll be on next week as well, but I'm
Sunday at 7 o'clock. I'll see you boys then.
Bye.
Cheers again. Cheers, Dave. Take care.
So, one thing I want to bring up quickly, Winnie, and then I'll come to you because I know you're probably busy as well. So, first of all, Harry, you said Romero is a liability. He's rash. He makes bad decisions.
I think he's one of the best in the Premier League, though, Luke.
Wait, and both you and Dave said he's the best of a bad bunch.
Yes,
I don't want the best of a bad bunch. I don't want a rash, hot-headed defender who's going to cost you goals when you really don't need to concede anymore. And by the way, Harry, you said that I am happy with Eric Dyer and Ben Davis. At no point have I ever said that.
You don't want Romero. So Sanchez then. There's nobody else, Luke. You're saying you don't want Romero.
I'm not suggesting.
You're tying yourself into knots again. You're doing the same as earlier. You're trying to find your way out of a cave that's got no way out.
All right. Let me finish.
Go for it.
I've never said that I think that those players are good enough for Spurs. And I've never said you have to decide which one you want. I don't think any of them are good enough to play for Spurs. So I can't tie myself in knots when I don't think that any of them are good enough. I don't think that any of them are good enough. I think that we need 2 or 3 new centre-backs. I think Romero will do, but I think he is rash and I think he is bad. Winnie, on to you.
Christian Romero is one of, if not, no, honest, this is the problem. He is one of the best defenders in the Premier League. I understand everyone's points.
I think he's the best.
He's rash, of course, yeah. But if you look at it, all of the best defenders have that about them. It's just how they control it. You're telling me John Terry wasn't rash? Of course he was rash, yeah, in his earlier days. We're forgetting about players who reached their... I don't know how old Romero is. How old is he? About 24, 23?
Yeah,
he can't be any older than that. 20. We're talking about players who reach their prime
25.
These days at about 28, 29, especially defenders. Defenders reach their prime at a later age because they become more composed. They have more experience.
25.
Christian Romero,
25,
yeah.
Oh, okay, fair enough. That's a little bit older than I thought, but still not in those prime areas just yet. Whoa.
Yeah.
But so for me, he has all the attributes to become one of the best defenders in Europe, and people can deny that if they want to, but I think if they do, they are kidding themselves. Because if you look at what he has, when he has a good game, wow, he is phenomenal, and you can't deny that when he has a good game. If you surround Christian Romero, look at him for Argentina. It's not a coincidence that when he plays for Argentina, he is phenomenal. And that's
playing in a better team.
That's because he's got world-class players around him.
Exactly.
A very stupid analogy, but if you have a fruit bowl full of rotten apples, and you put a ripe apple in there, it doesn't take it long for that apple to also become rotten, and that's the issue. He's surrounded by some absolute dross players. Eric Dyer, dross. Davidson Sanchez, dross. Bloody Ben Davies, dross. Perisic, he's surprised me. I thought Perisic was going to be one of the saviours of the season. He's been pants. Porro will take some time, but I think there's a player in there as well. If we can sort out our defensive frailties, Christian Romero can become one of the best players in the Premier, or the best defenders in the Premier League, and I truly believe that.
And who is better then between both of you, right? Who is better?
Yeah.
I'll go with Harry first. Christian Romero or William Saliba?
See, yeah, I think it's very, very tight. I think they've both been exceptional this season. I think I'm going to go with Romero just because Saliba's playing in a better defense. He's playing with Shinchenko. He's playing in a team that has a feel-good factor at the moment. Romero's playing in a team that's in a mess at the moment, yet they're still on par. For me, Romero is just about better. Lots of Arsenal fans don't like it, but I'm sitting here and thinking in the league, who is better than Romero? I don't think John Stones is. Diaz, I think, again, it's very, very close. Chelsea, nobody there. I really think he's up there. It's just a liability, partly, but it comes with his game. You have to accept that. You have to accept he has that fight. He has that spirit. He wants to win. Yes, he may occasionally get sent off, occasionally pick up a yellow, but he wants it. He's one of the only players in the team that cares, that wants to give absolutely everything, gives his heart on the line. I love it. He throws his body on the line, gets the block in. Nobody does that. The likes of Dyer, they put their hands like that and they turn away from the ball and it goes in. Here we go. For example, we lose to Newcastle, we lose to Liverpool. Players just stand here. Romero puts his body on the line, throws everything at it. He's one of him and Kane, I think, are the only players that give 110%. And you want to get rid of them, Luke. You're happy with Dyer, Davis, but if you're not happy with them, you want to get rid of them all. You said earlier that it's not Levy's fault, so whose fault is it? You're tying yourself in knots again. Whose fault is it that we have this defence? That's my question to you. Whose fault is it that we have this defence?
What, currently?
Yes. All the players have been here for ages. And the new ones.
It's a recruitment
It's not
problem.
Levy, then who is it?
It's obviously a recruitment problem. You're very good, Harry, at putting.
You're defending it earlier. You're defending it earlier under Paratici.
No, I think that
I've got you here. There's no way out. You're stuck.
Right. So let's go back. If you want to keep going around in circles, we can go back.
Let's go back. Yeah.
So the question was, you said that Paratici's recruitment has been awful. Okay.
Yes. Poor.
I think that it has been poor. He's signed Christian Romero, and I think he is poor.
Done.
But it's not his fault that we've got Dyer and Davis because they've been here a long, long time. And I agree that is a recruitment problem.
Whose fault is it then?
Of course it is. That is a problem from recruitment problem for the board. But I'm not suggesting that they are to blame for everything because they're not. There's a lot of problems that exist off that. But Winnie, who's better, Saliba or Romero?
Romero.
Yeah.
Well, you're both wrong. So let's move on. Saliba's 3 years. Saliba's 3 years younger. He's faster. He's taller, and he's a better player.
So what don't you like about Romero then? That you pick on him, you're picking on an individual. Where's your evidence? What don't you like?
The fact that he dived in, gave away a penalty at 2-0 down against Liverpool.
Okay, so you don't mind Dyer scoring own goals and he could let 100, we could let a bus through that defence and Romero would be the only one who'd try and stop it. It's like having a security. It's like having a security. Let's say you're in charge of Tesco and you've got a security team of 5 or 6. There's only one who's going to try and stop someone from stealing something or get him through. And you're picking out the one who's trying hard, the one who's got any quality.
But I don't think that is quality, giving away a penalty at 2-0 down within 15 minutes. I don't think that is quality.
It's quality putting the ball in the back of your own net then.
But when Derek Dyer scored an own goal last?
He's done it a lot. Don't worry, and Davis.
Tell me, Harry. Use that as a point. Tell me the last time you scored an own goal.
You're not listening. I used what you said earlier. You're not listening. They do put the ball in the back of their own net. We've done it several times. We've been to Stamford Bridge and done it. Some of these players aren't even here. Yes. But Romero, when does Romero put the ball in the back of his own net then? Let's swing that around.
But how many red cards has Romero got this season? And cost us in games.
Why does that matter? How many man of the match performances has he put in? How many blocks has he put in? How many times has he put his body on the line? How many times has he charged forward? How many shots has he had? There's loads of questions I could ask.
I'm just going to say something quite bold here. And I I'm going to kind of back Luke up here and not negate my argument, because I would always stick by what I say in Romero being one of the best defenders in the Premier League. However, I will say that he has, not for the same reasons, but I would say he has probably cost us as much times as Eric Dyer has, whether that be getting sent off, whether that be giving a penalty away. I would say that they are about on the same levels in terms of, giving points away and giving games away. But, my thoughts on Christian Romero are what I've already said, and I'll stick by it. But backing Luke up, yes, he is very rash. There are times when he probably has cost us a game. Giving a penalty away at 2-0 down, did that cost us the game? Arguably, it made it a bit, significantly more difficult to get anything out of that game. But it's just one of those things. I think, like I said, we need a massive overhaul in defence. If we can do that, I think that we can then push ourselves forward. Like, that the famous analogy, you kind of need to cut a bit of yourself off to be able to move on. That's the exact same thing here. We need to just completely, there'll be sentimental value in Dyer being there for a while. He scored his first goal away at West Ham. I remember watching it. There's a lot of sentimental value in these players, but we need to just cut them off, rebuild the defence, and to be able to move on.
Yeah, obviously, and I'll come to you, Dave, now. Romero is the best of a very, very bad defence. So obviously, if we were going to look at rebuilding that defence, he would be the last one that you would rebuild. But I do not think he is in top 5 centre-backs in the Premier League. But Dave, Dave, come to you next about Romero.
Yeah, if this internet isn't stable, just drop me out, mate. I'm kind of on some cloud Wi-Fi. So he's not top 5 in the Premier League at all, but he's the best that we've got. So that's kind of the way I look at it, that Romero situation. I agree with Luke on the point about Dyer and Romero. They probably cost us just as much points as each other.
Yeah.
Let's be honest, the whole defense is an absolute car crash. It doesn't matter what you do with it, it's a car crash. But if I was going to choose a defender to play alongside a ball-playing defender, it would be Romero, because he can step in and he does quite a good job of stepping in. But yeah, for me, he is a calamity. He needs to chill out. He needs to relax a bit and stop being so rash, because red cards cost us massively in a lot of games this season.
Yeah, agreed. Right, let's move on then, guys, because we're getting late on and we've kind of argued for the last 40 minutes. So let's move on to today's game.
I'm not responsible for that either.
I know, exactly. Yeah,
That
proves Harry's the instigator, doesn't it? But
yeah. Love it.
Today's game against Crystal Palace. So on a normal season, we would look at this game and say, do you know what? This is a winnable game. This is a game where we would be expecting 3 points. And usually, against Roy Hodgson's Palace team, you would expect 3 points and to win a game. But recently, I don't know what Roy Hodgson's done. Maybe he's been reading the Pep Guardiola tactic guide or something, because, my God, they're on fire at the moment. It's going to be tough today, isn't it, Harry?
Yeah, it would be tough. But, I can't sit here and go... We can't sit here and go after we lose. Oh, yeah, but Roy Hodgson is on a good form. Palace are pretty much safe right now. They can lose this. It doesn't matter. Wherever you've got the likes of down there, you've got Leeds, you've got Everton, you've got Nottingham Forest. You can't afford to lose. But with Palace, they can. They're in a comfortable position. Same, they're above Chelsea. And Chelsea, it'd be funny if they went down again. It's pretty much impossible. But no, it'd be hard. Of course it will be, because we make things hard for a start. Palace, we've got 2 teams that are good going forward but can't defend. So we should, there should be goals in there ideally, and we should be able to exploit their defense. It's a game that I think we finally will win. It's been a long while since we've actually won a game, and I think we're unlucky not to beat Man United. I thought we're unlucky not to come away with nothing against Liverpool last weekend. So I think we will win the game. It's just whether how tight it is, I reckon. But it's not as easy as it would have been. But Roy Hodgson, away to Tottenham, doesn't have a great record at all. So I'm hoping we can keep that up. Dig up, Patchy.
Yeah, Winnie, I've got a question for you. Name me one player in the Palace team that you would take at Spurs.
I can name 3.
Go on then, go.
Elise, Eze,
Okay, I can
Zaha.
name 3 as well.
Elise, Eze, Zaha. They're the only 3 I would take. But I mean, I look
Gahey.
at especially Elise and Eze. Maybe Zaha's bottom of my list, but I would still take him. He's a player that we've been linked with many, many, many times, and I think he would have fit at Tottenham. I think that ship has sailed now. But Elise and Eze, absolute ballers. What they would do in that Tottenham team with Kane and Son around them would be absolutely, it would be a dream. So they're the 3. I can name 3.
I'll take
out
5.
of all of those, I would like to take Eze probably the most, then Elise, then Zaha. But look, like I said, I think we've turned that horrible Conte corner. We look at Man United. Yes, again, we went 2-0 down, but that was because of defensive, not errors, but then defensive frailty. But we've shown the spirit, the heart, the desire to get back in the game, and we had chances to win that game. And then again, we look at Liverpool at Anfield. We never do well at Anfield. When was the last time we won at Anfield? I couldn't tell you off the top of my head. It's been a while, I would have thought.
Ages.
But we go down again to defensive errors, defensive frailties, but we show the significant heart and desire that we've always had over the years, and we've been lacking under Mourinho and under Conte to get back in the game. And then what happens? We switch off. Defensive Lucas Moura, given, the sooner we can get rid of him, the better. He's given us some great times, but as of late, all he's done is just negative impact on the team. The stupid red card against Everton, the pass back or whatever it was supposed to be against Liverpool. So we have turned that horrible Conte corner. I think today, I do think we're going to win, but I think it's going to be like 6-5.
Oh my God.
Wow.
Dave, I know you mentioned Gahey while Winnie was talking. Talk to me about how difficult this game might be.
I would take
today.
From Palace. From Palace, I would take Gahey, Anderson, Elise, and Eze. That would be my 4 that I would take. I think Mark Gahey improves our defense massively.
Does he though? I don't think
I'll be honest with you. We could get Razor Ruddock back and he'd improve our defense right now.
You're probably right, to be fair.
We're in absolute shambles at the back. So it's one of those where if you want a consistent Premier League performer, Gahey's up there. That's a fact. So on today's game, I can tell you now that Eze and Elise rip us a new arsehole.
Yeah.
Harry, thoughts on Palace? I know you said you'd take 5 Palace players.
Yeah, I would take 5. I think Dave pretty much said all of them. Firstly, I just thought of defence. Anderson and Gahey. I think that they're better than Dyer, they're better than Davis, they're better than Sanchez. Imagine one of it. Let's say Gahey and Romero as a partnership in a potential back 4. Fine. So yeah, Gahey and Anderson. Zaha, 100%. It'd be crazy to say no. Elise, exciting player. Elise's exciting. Eze as well. So yeah, that's my 5, and I think easily those 5. I mean, at least get into the squad, and I think Gahey and Anderson, especially Gahey, get straight into that first team.
But the thing is,
straight to the first team.
Can I just say, are they the standard? Are they the standard that we are looking for? I know you're saying
they're better than what we've got, for sure. Yeah, but that's a good question.
But that's not what we want, is it? We don't want, they're better than what we've got.
We're finishing mid-table, mate, so they're definitely better than the standard we've got.
No, but that's the problem.
Who's better out there that you've got Mark Gahey? I mean, you've got players out there, but realistically that we're going to get, I think Mark Gahey is the most realistic one. And he's better. If it means that Dyer can go, Davis can go, Sanchez can go, I personally think it's worth it. But it's a good question, but I can't see us getting the likes of Skriniar. There's players out there I'd love us to get. I just can't see it happening.
No, I get it. But this is the argument that I see, and this is all I just come back to is we're talking about now. Romero is better than what we've got in terms of the best of a bad bunch. And if we get like Anderson, for example, or I look at Gahey, and he put in a terrible performance against us last time we played.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? So this is the problem, and I get what you're saying. I don't know who is out there I don't know who is out there that we can go, actually, do you know what? That's who we need. And I don't know who that person is, but I look at those and I don't think that they turn us, or I don't think they turn our defence into a top 4 side, which is what we want to be. We want to be a top 4 side because that's what we're aiming for. That's what we were aiming for probably 2 or 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, my question to you though. Yeah, my question to you though, Dave. How important is it for you that we prioritize in the summer that defense? You know, and do you see what do you class as the standard? You know, in terms of like realistic, and would you be happy like with the likes of Mark Gay and Anderson?
Sorry, was that to me?
No, it's to Dave.
Oh, I think he's got some issues going on. I'm just going to remove him for a minute. Yeah, I'll answer that actually.
Go on, go for it.
Sorry, apologies if you can hear my dogs barking. That's why I had to drop off.
I had to do that earlier.
Joachim Anderson, I think he was a signing that we should have got a year or 2 ago, but I don't think he really propels us to a position in which we would be, you know, a much better defence. I think that it's just looking to cover up poor players in poor positions. Gehi, do I think that he is ready to be a starting centre-back? I think Spurs need to be looking, you know, bigger. I think they need to be looking better. I like him, and I like him a lot.
It's not going to happen though, Luke. You've got to be realistic.
Yeah. What? That we're going to get even better than that?
Yeah, I just can't. Can you see Levy going out and buying Skriniar? Can you see us going out and signing Skriniar? There was another Bastoni. There's the other one we wanted. I can't see it happening. Levy, to be realistic, I'd love to have, you know, world class centre backs, the quality of Van Dijk, another Romero, maybe even better. But I'm just thinking at this club at the moment, the closest to realistic we can get is probably Mark Gay. You know, it's better than what we've got.
Price wise.
I agree.
Price wise, we would be more realistic to get a player like
definitely.
Skriniar.
I think we'll find a way to mess it up.
Yeah, I think it would cost. But I understand what you mean. Kind of rather than, you know, can we get a player that is better than Gehi? Or you're not. I don't think you're suggesting that we get Gehi over the likes of Bastoni or Skriniar.
No.
Yeah.
More realistic though.
Yeah, no, I get what you mean. Winnie, what do you think about
that? Yeah, I mean, I think if we want to get Gehi, we're talking about upwards of 50 million probably. Now, for me, that's mental because of what I've expressed. He doesn't improve our defence significantly. I think he's someone who, in the future, might be okay, but for now, this is the problem. It depends who comes in as manager. I think if we get Nagelsmann, I genuinely believe that in maybe 3-4 years' time, if we allow him that time, we can be a force because he is a manager who, if you look at what he's done, and you know, I get that comes with investment as well, which is another downside of taking the Tottenham project is you may not get the investment that you've had at, you know, his previous clubs that he's transformed. So I do believe that with the right manager and the right director of football, if we get someone in, I know we're linked with someone who we're strongly linked. I can't remember his name, but it's someone who has worked with Nagelsmann in the past. Is that a coincidence? Probably not. We're probably looking at that package again now. So, look, we looked at Conte and Paratici, as a package. Okay, we tried it. It didn't work. But the problem is the fans were crying for Conte. Yeah, all the fans, I know for a fact, all the fans were crying for Conte. We delivered Conte, and he didn't deliver his part of it.
Yeah, no, that's right.
That isn't anyone's fault because it's
apparently
what the fans would. No, but it's not. It isn't because that's what the fans were crying for. Yeah. Now, if you look at who's out there, fans are crying for.
Why is Conte won everywhere else but Tottenham? Then I agree with you to an extent, but why is he not? It's same with Mourinho. They've won everywhere but Tottenham. Is that just a coincidence? It's happened twice.
It's the, like I said earlier, it's the mentality of the players. Our players do not have a winning mentality.
Whose fault is it that these players are still here?
Yeah, but this
It goes on and on and on.
No, I do agree, and I'm not strongly for or against whatever I'm saying. What I'm trying to say is, the fans wanted Conte. Levy delivered Conte, and it didn't work. Levy has done. I get that, and you can't say that we didn't invest, because if you look under Paratici and Conte, Romero, Bentancur, Kulusevski. I know, like, obviously, if we haven't even got to see Udoji yet, but we know, I know from looking at him, he looks a player exactly suited for what we want and what we want to do. So there has been investment there.
Bissouma, Spence, Pedro Porro.
Okay,
Bissouma,
right.
What a player!
If you want to talk about them individually, Kulusevski hasn't had a very, very good season. Spence hasn't worked out yet. Bissouma's been injured all season, so we can't really judge him yet. Adoki, what system? He can't play the back four. So, again, so if you get a back four, where's he going to play? So all these players wasted already.
All right, so you say Kulusevski hasn't had a good season, yeah?
Yeah,
he was one of our most important players last season when he was fit, when he was confident.
Perhaps he's dropped off. Perhaps he's just a one season thing. One season wonder.
But how can you hold accountability on the chairman for a player not playing to his potential?
That's a good question, but Paratici comes out of that boat as well. But you've got to take responsibility when you've signed somebody, and if it doesn't work out, if Bissouma doesn't work out, although it's the player, it's the person who signed him. The fans may encourage it, the fans may want it, but we didn't sign him.
Bissouma had a handful of suitors of top clubs because they saw potential in what he was doing.
Hopefully it does work out. He could be a very, very good signing, and I hope it is. At the time, I thought it would be, and it should be.
Do you know why? Do you know why Kulusevski hasn't worked out this season? It's very, very simple. It's very, very simple, and I will say this statement first before I go into it. Blaming Daniel Levy for everything is the very easy cop-out excuse from everybody in our fan base. And everybody needs to slowly understand that it is a massive, massive cop-out. But why hasn't Kulusevski worked this season? Very, very simple, Harry. It's because Antonio Conte drained the fucking life out of... And I'm sorry for
I agree, but why did he work last season for Conte then? Why did he work when he said he had a fantastic season, really important season last season? He played for Conte then, as far as I know.
Because Conte drains the life, second season syndrome, every single time.
Who appointed him? Who appointed him?
Harry, it's the
you're not going anywhere though.
Statement. It's very easy to just start saying who bought him.
Yeah, he's not to blame for everything. Conte's a massive problem, but it feels like we're it's past the blame at Tottenham. And there's one person who's responsible. There's one person, right, who sits up here, and you're trying to go, yeah, but it's his fault. It's his fault. It starts from up there, and Daniel Levy is up there. And you're going, it's the players. Some of these players worked well for Pochettino. Pochettino got the most out of them. And we're talking about a chairman who won't go back because he can't accept his mistake. That is poor. You can't defend that.
Exactly right from Johnny. You have a loser's mentality, and so did Arsenal.
Yeah, we do.
And that's a very simple answer.
A bit like Arsenal, though. They bought the title, haven't they, Johnny?
Winnie, we just hit the hour mark, so let's go through our score predictions before Harry goes ballistic at me anymore. So what's the score prediction for today? We lost him.
Oh.
Sorry, say that again, mate. You cut out.
Are we here? Can you hear me? Are we good?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. 4-3 Tottenham Hotspur.
Wow, 7-goal thriller.
That's changed from 6-5.
Yeah, no, 6-5 was a bit dramatic. 4-3.
Okay. Finally optimistic for once a little bit. I think we'll win 3-1. Let's go for it.
And Spurs and Conte have drained the life out of me, so 2-2 draw.
You're using the positive one as well.
Yeah. They've drained the life out of me, along with Levy Out, to be honest. And Dave has said 2-1 Palace. So that kind of wraps us up for today. I hope you all enjoyed the show. As I said earlier on in the show, big announcement that from next week onwards, we'll be streaming live Sunday nights, 7 p.m. And that will continue for the rest of the season and beyond. We will have content throughout the end of the season. It may not be as frequent, but we'll try and do as many shows as we possibly can, as something always does happen at Tottenham. So for the likes of you that do tune in every week, we do appreciate you. And make sure you do tune in 7 p.m. every Sunday night from now on. Winnie is back. So, Winnie, how can everyone find you before you go?
Yeah, I think say that again.
How can everyone find you?
They can find me in my car currently, mate, trying to find a connection. Winnie 1991 on Twitter. Absent as of late, but striving to get back and argue with Harry.
Lovely. We may have to put a speaking limit on Harry for next week, but Harry, how can everyone find you?
It's a pleasure today's show. It's always good to argue with someone who's fighting a lost cause. It always feels good. Regardless of that, you can find me here every Saturday. Oh no, it's changed now. Every Sunday night on Park Lane Podcast. There you go. I'm gonna have to start getting used to saying that when I go on people's shows now. So there you go. Have my own channel, Scarfy Spurs, so going very, very well. The new weekly podcast every Monday, 8 p.m. We've had loads of different guests on. The views are through the roof, the support is through the roof. So thank you. Currently on the route to 700 subs. You can find me my Twitter handle there, HarryScarf22. We have quite a lot of Spurs content, regardless of the result. It's the same, and my Monday show every 8 p.m. seems to always be a therapy session. The last certainly 4 or 5 have been therapy sessions for the fans. And as I said, you can find. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel here, Park Lane Podcast. And remember that new time change. I'm looking forward to be back. I enjoyed today's debate. Whenever I had one big debate with Dave and I won, and I've had one with both Luke and Winnie, who were fighting a lost cause. So yeah, it always feels good when you're right, doesn't it?
Harry, that's the one thing I like about you. You're a young man, but you are definitely a deluded young man. No, I'm
Says you.
Thanks guys for coming on. Obviously, you can check me out at Luke_Park Lane, but more importantly, check out Park Lane Podcast. We'll be from now on Sunday nights at 7 p.m. from next week onwards. We really, really do appreciate all your support. So thank you very much for every week. If you are listening on Spotify or any podcast platform, don't forget to click the follow button and listen all the way through. And if you are watching on YouTube, don't forget to hit the like button and also subscribe. I want to thank you both very, very much for coming on. I will be live on Tuesday night on Holly's Hotspurs on Holly Agenbar's channel. So make sure you come and check that out. Go and check out Harry's channel as well. Let's share all the love between Spurs channels. There's a few that I'll tell you not to follow, but I won't do it right now. Anyway, I want to thank you all very, very much for coming, and thank you for joining us once again. We will see you next time, and hopefully we'll be discussing a Spurs victory. For now, come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.